No.
We're ready.
Ready?
Be respectful.
Be respectful. I could be sleeping right now. Not really. So, camp was open. This is the 80th summer, so camp has obviously been here for a really, really long time. The camp was open back in the 60s, and camp was a lot more free in the 60s. You could do pretty much everything you want. You could probably ride a horse down here, get off, go into the lake, swim around the dock, because there was like a weird dock back then. It was like floating on barrels. And there were all kinds of boats. There were rowboats and there were canoes. In the first session of camp, there was this kid named Johnny Lale. Johnny Lale was one of those quieter kids. One of those kids who, he could get angry if you provoke him, and he's just one of the quieter kids, and he gets picked on by these two guys, Zach and Dan. Zach and Dan are none of the 4 core values. I don't want to list them again. They're just mean, they're bullies, they're not cool guys. And they pick on Johnny Lale a lot. So one day they come up with this idea that they're gonna, Johnny is out in a boat and they're just gonna ram his boat. They're gonna ram him and he is just gonna flip out and he's gonna get scared and maybe, hopefully, he's gonna fall in. So Zach and Dan each get in their respective canoes. So there are 2 canoes, one way over there, the other way over there. Johnny is in a rowboat right over here, right in the middle. And because camp was more free back then, Johnny's sitting back, laying back, with his stick and his legs out. If you, like, whacked him on the head, he would have fallen in. But he's chillaxing out there, he's enjoying the nice sun, getting some rays. And Zach and Dan decide, all right, it's time, we got this. So they start to pedal. And paddle. They start to paddle. They start to paddle and they're building up speed. They're building up speed. And I mean, these guys are Sachems. They're not expert boaters. They don't know how to turn really quickly. So they're getting closer and closer to Johnny sticking his legs out. And they start to go a little bit too far towards Johnny's legs. And Johnny, he hears the splashes, so Johnny wakes up, and that jolts the boat back. And the 2 canoes ram right into Johnny right here. Johnny falls into the water. They don't know. The kids, everyone just starts to flip out. An ambulance is called. They get Johnny out of the water. There are huge, huge holes in his legs. They're like hanging on just by some tendons and some muscle. Bad. So Johnny goes to the hospital, and they hear later that his legs were amputated, but he's still alive, and he went home. Obviously, he's not coming back to camp. And Zach and Dan, being who they are, they're here for all 4 sessions. So Zach and Dan, it was obviously an accident. They didn't mean to cut off this guy's legs. What? So they're sent home for a few days. If you do something bad at camp, you're usually sent home. So you're sent home for a few days. The rest of the week, they didn't come to camp. They come back, and everything's returning back to normal. Boats is canceled for the rest of the summer. They're not going to do that. So camp goes on, just minus boats. But everyone's like, okay, Johnny isn't here. But, I mean, what can you do? So, how am I doing so far? All right. Okay. So they were first-year Sachems when this happened, and they love camp. So they came back another year. They come back, and they're doing the whole summer. The summer's going great. The summer's going perfect. And maybe, if they weren't being so rude, they'd be in the running for honor camper, but they're not. And if any of you are honor campers, boo. I was never an honor camper.
Or was I?
I was here for 7 years as a camper. Never was honor camper. 10. Honor campers overrated. Anyway, back to the story. They come back for their 4th session. And this is like a year and a summer after the thing that happened with Johnny. And the first week goes by perfectly fine. They have Miss Iroquois. Ha ha ha. Second week comes, They're like, yeah, last Sachem overnight. Next, we're going to be CITs, because they did not have Tiogas back in the 60s. What year did Tiogas come?
84!
2000.
84! That's made it up.
Alright, anyway, they're on there overnight. Everything's going Gucci. They got this nice ceremony going. They got a nice game going. Not as good as ours. We played a really good game today. My jacket's still sweaty. They had a good time. They're enjoying themselves. And it's time to go set up their bags. You know? Sorry, you're fine. They set up their bags to the 2 closest spots to Sachem Steps. And mind you, back then, Sachem Steps are not the steps that are here now. There were, how many were there?
7.
7 or 9?
7.
Well, there were 7 individual things.
Okay.
Whatever you call it.
They're 7. They're like logs. They're like weren't even steps.
You can
They're
still
like
kind of
logs.
see them.
You can still see them. Next time we go up there, I'll show you whatever. So there's 7 logs. So they go up the 7 logs. They get into a sleeping bag right near the stairs. And then they hear roundabout kind of manner. It's pretty good. Lights out. Everybody goes to bed. And being the 2 mischiefy kids that they are, they decide they want to stay up for a little bit. So they're staying up for a little bit. And really faintly, really far in the distance, they hear 2 thuds. And then some sort of scraping of metal on wood. And they hear mumbling in the distance. They can't really hear it at all. So they're like, that's probably just a raccoon. What is this? There are raccoons at camp. If you don't move your food out of your pavilion, there's going to be a skunk or raccoon, I can guarantee it. Or if you're lucky, a bear. Back to the story. They're trying to fall asleep. They're trying to fall asleep. A few minutes later, they hear another thud, and then the scrape, and they hear it. So now they're like, okay, that's obviously a person. So they wake up their counselor. They had a counselor named Ben Siegel.
I know, I had him.
They didn't. They wake up Ben Siegel. They're like, Ben, I think there's somebody down there. And Ben's like, there's nobody down there. We checked it earlier. Go back to bed. You're fine. So they're like, all right, I trust him. We trust him. Let's go back to bed. They're still chilling there. They're almost asleep. They're in that stage where you're almost asleep, kind of awake, still remember things, a little bit not, whatever. You know that phase? Like limbo. And then you hear 2 thuds, louder, and an obvious scraping of metal on wood. And they hear, I'm on the 3rd step. I am coming. So now they're like, aha, whatever staff member that is, that's not funny at all. So they're like, it's probably just this guy playing a prank. They wait a few minutes, they hear, and then a scrape, and they hear, I'm on the 4th step. I'm coming. And they're getting really freaked out. They go and they wake up Ben again. Ben is just like, it's a raccoon, go back to bed, do not wake me up. Shut up. So they keep doing that, and then they keep hearing this thing. They keep hearing it until they hear, shh, do not ruin this. You want me to stop? I can stop. They hear thud, thud, and then a loud, long scrape. And they hear, I am here for you. The next morning, they're trying to wake everybody up. The alarm went off, whatever, somebody brought a clock and alarm went off. They're trying to wake the kids up so they can go to breakfast. They wake everybody up. And then they see at the edge of the pavilion, there are 2 empty sleeping bags. And they're like, all right, roll those up. Whoever's those are, roll them up and get them back into the shed or whatever. Nobody claims them. So then they're like, all right, whose are those? Someone's like, oh, those are Zach and Dan's. And Ben's like, yeah, they're my kids. They had some like disturbances over the night. Stop it. Over the night.
Stop it.
Shh. You want me to stop it? Then shh. Ben's like, oh yeah, they had some disturbances. They heard a voice or something, but I'm sure they're fine. So they keep the kids in the pavilion. They're like, all right, we got to look for these kids. They're probably just down at the lake, or they're probably doing something weird. And they come down to the lake. They don't go down Sachem Steps. They go the long way because they wanted to tell the office. They wanted to say, yo, we got an issue going on. So then they're walking down here. They get over here and they see in one of these trees, they see two gory bodies hanging by the neck. And the really creepy part is their legs were cut off, exactly where Johnny's were. The counselor that found them, obviously shaken, returns to the office and tells them, we have a huge situation, send the kids home. So then they're like, okay, I'm going to go tell everyone at Sachem to go home. So they walk over to Sachem, and at the bottom of Sachem Steps, they see a broken, disheveled wheelchair. And on the name tag, it says Johnny Lale. They call Johnny's parents, and they're like, okay, we found your son's wheelchair here. What is going on? And the parents are like, what do you mean? He's been dead for 6 months. And that's the story of Sachem Steps.
Oh my God. Yay! I thought like they found like body bags or something.
No.
Body bag.
Gotta make it more glorious.
Is that really?
I mean, I did tell a version a long time ago where like they open the sleeping bags and just blood goes out everywhere.
Or how about his leg was attached to his head?
Right? I got
Broken legs.
That's a good story.
Yeah, we're not creeped out.